Hi folks, it's Al Shaw from Perfect Body Consulting, and we can be found at www.perfectbody.ca. Today we're here with pro bodybuilder Pat Buhat, and we're going to be going through all of the mandatory poses that you have to do when you're doing a show. So, the ultimate thing that every bodybuilder needs to put out on stage is width within the right places, being the shoulders, being the thighs. So you're always making that X. Everything that you do, you want to make the waist look small, you want to make the shoulders look wide, you want to make the legs look wide. So we will start with the front relaxed. So as you can see, Pat's got his heels about 3 or 4 inches apart. He's got a slight bend at the knee with the knees pointing outward. So you can see the sweep of the quads. If his legs were straight, you would still see it, but it would be taking away from it. So he's got the knees pointed out, which makes the waist look tinier because the knees are wider than the waist. Also, he's got his chest up, collarbones level, creating the longest distance from the outside of the side delt to the other side delt. Chest up, arms flexed. Good. Okay, so let's go into the front double bicep. Very good. So once again, legs have stayed the same. He's got the chest up, vacuumed in with the belly, and some things that you can add to this for the guys that haven't been training as long. To get more width with the lats, you can move the elbows just a bit forward, which would be here, which is going to help bring out the lats more. The other thing you can do as well is, rather than having the forearm straight up and down, you can move that to the back, like this, which is going to create more roundness to the bicep. So once again, this is a pose that you've got to practice lots and be able to hold it for a long period of time. So we'll now go to the lat spread. Very good. So once again, the lower body hasn't changed. The heels are 2 or 3 inches apart with the knees pointing out to create that X factor from the knees being wider than the hips. Pat has the chest up. He's also got the hands on the waist, and in a bit on the waist, which is actually hiding the outsides of his hip bones, which is taking away from his waist width and making it look more narrow than what it actually is. He's also got the elbows out wide, which is creating that X factor of width down to being narrow and then back out again. The chest is up. Good. Collarbones are perfectly level. Always got to be level. Okay? So let's go to the side chest. So he has his weight planted on his back foot with the front foot, the heel is raised to be able to show the calf flexing. He's got his back knee somewhat tucked into the front thigh, is keeping those tight. He's got the vacuum. As you can see, his collarbones are level. And that's the most important part of this pose. You want the hips to be facing directly out from the judges at a 90-degree angle from the judges, so they get locked in. Once you get the upper body set in, that your upper body twists around just partially, which shows width, narrow, width. So by keeping those collarbones perfectly level, he's created the longest distance from outside delt to outside delt. Very good. Now the side try. Once again, the same thing. His forward foot, the heel is raised so he can flex the calf and show that off. The rear knee is tucked into the thigh, a bit of the front thigh. You vacuum the belly. The hips are at a 90-degree angle from the judges, and you've got a slight upper body twist so that it's coming around to show width from delt to delt. And as you can see, he's also got the collarbone perfectly level. Lots of people you will see will do this, which shortens the distance from outside delt to outside delt and makes you look not as wide. Very good. So let's go to the rear lat spread. So we will start first. Actually, Pat, you can relax for just a second. The most important part of any pose to the rear is how you place your feet. You'll see almost every person, or many, that when they're asked to put one foot back, they throw their leg straight back. Can you do that, Pat? Now, by doing that, and thousands of people do it when they do shows, but they're only showing half of their body. You're basically seeing 2D. You're seeing a straight line. So if you can go back to where you were, Pat. And now what I'm going to ask Pat to do is not throw his leg back so far, but only bring it back. You can see I've got the white tape on the line. He's going to put his toe on the tape from the leg that's back, and the other foot is leaving the heel on the tape. Also, he's going to point his toes out. On his left side, it's going to be at 10 o'clock, and on the right side, it's going to be at 2 o'clock. The knees are pointing out as well. So what we've done is we've created that X from the bottom down. He's got the narrow waist. He's now created width coming out, which is going to make that waist look even more narrow. Also, it's making it's giving him a 3D look. You can see the sweep of his quads. You can see the shape of his hams in both legs. So as we come up to the top, Pat has hit the rear lat spread. You can see he's got his hands tucked in right on the waist, which is partially hiding some of the width of his waist, and elbows out, which is creating that width. He's got his collarbones level, which is making shoulder to shoulder as wide as possible, and he's got partially shoulders move just a little bit forward, which is making those lats pop out further. Very good. Actually, you can just hold that pose right there for you haven't got to squeeze it. We'll hold it just a bit longer. The other thing you can do, because everyone has a good or a bad body part, one that they're always working on, and those of you that are having a hard time bringing up the size of your back, you're working on it, but it's just not quite there yet. Here's a trick for you. When you hit this pose, leave your hips where they are, but lean the upper body back just a bit more and round those elbows out a bit more. By doing that, you put the lower back into the background of the picture. You put the upper back into the foreground, which is going to give the illusion of the back being wider than what it actually is. Okay, very good, Pat. So, tired yet? Good. So, the rear double bicep. So, I want you to change legs. So, once again, he's got his toes at about the same line as where his heel is, with the toes pointing out at 10 o'clock and at 2 o'clock. The knees pointing out at 2 o'clock and at 10 o'clock, which is giving him the X factor in the lower body, and hitting the upper body. He's got his waist in the background. The upper back is in the foreground because he's leaned back just a bit. Now also, if you're trying to give the illusion of looking bigger than what you actually are, you can move those elbows just a bit forward, which is going to round the back out further, and also take the upper arm and twist a bit more to the rear, which is going to show more of the shape of the bicep. Very good. And the final pose will get you to do the ab and thigh. And thank Pat for doing it for us. He is off season currently, but he's still looking great. So, as you can see, he still has those knees pointed out. 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, so we're getting a 3D look of his leg rather than the leg being straight and you're only seeing 2D. He has his elbows not straight up in the air. They're actually pointing out just a bit, which is creating that width from the widest point coming into narrow for the waist. We have got a couple of alterations to that pose as well, where he could be up on the ball of his foot. You could have the one leg out straight. You've got 2 or 3 angles that you can hit that pose at. It's always best to practice them all, because you don't know as you diet down, one might look better than the other when it's time to do the show. So always be well practiced for all of the angles. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen.
No chance?
No chance. Curtis Demars is very athletic.
Oh, now he's got